Here's to another episode of Austin's Academy of Sports on this special October 31st day, Halloween, where I, Austin Shattuck, your host, will be previewing this weekend's top games and giving my thoughts on the MSU-Michigan scuffle over the weekend. Obviously, the biggest game this weekend is between number 1 Georgia and number 2 Tennessee in Athens. Tennessee, Georgia can't get any better than that. Both 8-0. Tennessee has already beaten Bama, so all they got to do to prove that they're number 1 is beat Georgia on the road, the number 1 team, and I think they get it done. Georgia is favored by 75%, or has a 75% chance of winning the game, which is extremely high in my case, and I think they're that high because they're home. They have a great home fan base and a great stadium there in Athens, but I still think Tennessee's offense, getting like 40 plus points a game, gets the dub on the road. And I think Hendon Hooker, the Heisman frontrunner, has an okay game. I don't think he has a great game, but I think the X factor is Tennessee's running back, Jalen Wright. He proves that he is a great sophomore running back and against the Georgia defense and silences the crowd early with a few rushing touchdowns, highlighted by Hendon Hooker's passing touchdowns. And I think they get the job done and turn that 75% chance turn that 25% chance, I should say, into a dub of winning the game. And also Hendon Hooker will improve his Heisman status this weekend against Georgia, throwing for 2 touchdowns and his running back running for 3. Also, Ohio State plays Northwestern, so that's not really a chance for C.J. Stroud to give him his Heisman hopes, especially when they're on the road. And Northwestern's not a good team, so unless he goes for like 7 touchdowns, I think Hendon Hooker has it in the bag if he wins this game. And I think they do. My prediction is 42-38 Tennessee on the road, getting the job done, proving themselves that they are number 1 team in the nation, and proving to me that they are number 1 team in the nation. Next, we have Clemson at Notre Dame in a huge rivalry game down in Notre Dame, Indiana. It'll be on NBC, local station, at 7:30, but Clemson is still favored. I have Clemson winning this game as a top 5 team, and I believe if they do win this game, they should be moved up to number 4 and Michigan back to number 5. But I am not part of the committee, so don't get me wrong on that. That's if they win. I think Clemson gets the job done with their defense. Notre Dame isn't ranked, and they don't really have that good of an offensive attack. New coach, first year, and I think Clemson's DJU quarterback gets it done. At least gets 3 to 4 passing touchdowns, and Will Shipley, the running back, gets a few rushing touchdowns. So, final score, Clemson winning. That's all you got to know. And then as for my sleeper game of the weekend, besides Tennessee, Georgia, it goes to Texas at K-State, Kansas State. This game down in Manhattan really sums up the Big 12, I guess, followed by TCU. TCU is number 1 in Big 12, but I think this game decides who takes second place in the Big 12, unless Oklahoma State kind of somehow wins out, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it'll be TCU and then K-State if they get the job done this weekend as 1 and 2 in the Big 12 this season. And I think, like I said, K-State gets it done. Texas is favored, but they're on the road, and K-State usually is dominant at home, followed by double deuces, Deuce Vaughn, number 22 on K-State. And I think, as I mentioned, K-State gets the job done, impacted by, I should say, Adrian Martinez's return from the injured reserve, and silences all the haters, proves that he's a good quarterback transferring out of Nebraska. So let's go Cougars this weekend. And then also remember that the first college football playoff rankings comes out tomorrow night, November 1st. ESPN, 7 o'clock. Reese Davis and the guys will be, I don't know, what they do, previewing what November holds as the top 6 teams, followed by the College Football Playoff Committee. They will come out with their top 6, and I will come out with my top 6 tonight. My top 6 are 1, Ohio State, 2, Tennessee, 3, Georgia, 4, Michigan, 5, Clemson, and 6, TCU. Notice how I didn't say Bama in there. They're in my number 7 after losing at home to Tennessee. Or, no, on the road to Tennessee, earlier in the season. I just don't have them. They have a few good wins against Arkansas and a few other teams, but they're just number 7 on my list. TCU's undefeated. These teams are all undefeated, actually, and very good. And we'll see what happens tomorrow night when their rankings come out. So finally, let's get to the MSU-Michigan scuffle at the game last Saturday in the Big House. So far, 4 MSU players have been suspended from the team from Michigan State by Coach Tucker. Still figuring this investigation out by the athletic directors, police, the Big Ten commissioner, many different people are sorted in this situation here. My thought is that Michigan needs to figure out a way to get another tunnel for the opposing team and have that one tunnel be for Michigan, or they need to just get a new stadium. Right now, they're the biggest stadium in the United States, I believe, with like 107,000, 109,000 fans when they're sold out. And right now, the stadium is just focusing on the money with the fan base and getting the fans to come in. But they don't have, they forgot to, I guess, well, I didn't say, I know that they thought about this, but they, like I said, they should get just another tunnel so they don't have all these scuffles. They have one tunnel leading to 2 opposite locker rooms, and this isn't the first time that this has happened. It seems like every big rivalry game last year, Ohio State, Michigan got into it. This year, Penn State, Michigan got into it, and this year, Michigan State, Michigan got into it. Now, I know it was much worse than the Penn State, Michigan game, but it's just my thought that they should. I know they can't probably add another tunnel because they got to do a bunch of. But in the offseason, they could maybe think about it. Or just building a new stadium. I know they probably won't do it. It's not very logical, but this happens every big rivalry game, and it's got to stop. These are people, not robots. And these people can get hurt, and it's just bad for the Big Ten to have all these rivalry fights in the Michigan locker room. But I also think that the MSU players who ganged up on the two Michigan players should get a little bit more of a punishment, I should say, than just a suspension. They should maybe be serving some jail time. Probably should. These are people, and they just because they're athletes shouldn't treat them different than normal people just on the street. And also, I do think that the Michigan player should receive a minor fine for heckling at the Michigan State players. They shouldn't have been in the locker room with the Michigan State team, and he should have been celebrating with his Michigan players with the Paul Bunyan Trophy on the field at the end of the game. Notice how all the Michigan State players were in the locker room after the game, and the Michigan players were on the field holding up Paul Bunyan to the fans, and those 2 Michigan players were with the Michigan State team. Kind of ironic there. Also, Coach Tucker's head got touched by a Michigan fan when he was walking to the locker room, and they did find that Michigan fan, and they're going to take care of that. I don't think he's allowed to any more Michigan games. You should never touch coaches anywhere. And then that's just my viewpoint on the Michigan State scuffle. I am a Michigan State fan, so I kind of gave it fair to both teams there. But anyways, that's that on that story there. So as always, thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what your guys' thoughts are, and enjoy Halloween tonight. Thank you, and see you next week.